Let's go now to Republican strategist and Trump campaign spokesman Adolfo Franco. He's here to talk through what's been happening tonight. Wow, when Trump said he wanted it to be too big to rig, did you think it would include the popular vote, the Senate, the House and also the Electoral College?
Well, we felt very good about this. Of course, we have internal numbers, so we've been feeling very good about the election. You never know. You never know who will turn out. A lot of factors, people who vote the day you vote, things in their lives come, and it could interfere. So you never know. But our internal numbers were very, very good. So we felt very comfortable about this. There was a sense in our campaign that throughout that there was a difference between 2020. You have to remember in 2020, President Trump received more votes, popular votes, than any Republican in history be candidate or president. In this go-around, there was a difference. We had a record of Biden-Harris of the last 3.5 years. President Biden, when he ran in 2020, he had no record. There had been 4 years of President Trump. There had been COVID and all the other things we knew, and it was a very close election. But the key numbers were these. You have a situation in this country where 70% of the American people said the country is moving in the wrong direction. The vast majority of the American people put the economy, inflation, a host of things, specific things like groceries and gasoline and insurance at the top, as well as immigration. And largely those things were either ignored by the Harris campaign, or there were never any specifics. Your other guest talked about tariffs and other specific things. President Trump also said no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security benefits for older people, and an extension of his tax cuts, which every single American would receive a tax hike if they're not extended next year. It's a long thing to unpack here, but that resonated with the American people. At the end, what the Democrat agenda was throughout the last year and a half or two was try to have President Trump discredited through the legal system, call him a dictator, call his personality. It was a running against President Trump rather than running for something. And that's why we were confident we could defeat either President Biden or Vice President Harris.
Adolfo, you mentioned those factors that maybe the Democrats didn't, kind of connect with voters enough on. What is it about Trump, or how has he managed to convince the American public that he's the guy to trust on these issues?
The reason is this. It's the reason that I think the legacy media in this country and the elites and others do not understand. They're outraged by many of the president's comments. In fact, tonight you saw the president's speech. At one point, he referred to, I have JD go see with the enemy meaning CNN, which is a major network in our country, and others. This is the way the American people speak, and he connects with that. You have Vice President Harris, who did not do interviews. Vice President Harris speaks from a typical politician, from a teleprompter or prepared speech. People know when something is canned. When you're at the metro in Australia, or you're at the airport, you see the canned ads and the canned things that come through. There's an authenticity that President Trump has, that the style and things that are said that are typically not that of more sophisticated elites types and that are turned off by it. They hone in on that, and they forget the message that he's delivering, which is what he was saying today. I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to fight for your families. I'm going to fight for your way of life. Adolfo, and that is what people connect with.
I do want to ask you another question, but I'm just going to return our viewers to the images of Trump. He's sort of wrapping things up there, so I think we probably want to take a look at that while we're wrapping up this conversation. But a question I want to ask you, it's often described that Americans vote for Trump despite their own distaste maybe for his criminal conviction or his language or maybe the way he talks about migrants. Just wonder whether now the question is whether they vote for that. They actually like that. What do you think?
Well, I understand that the question is, there's another way to look at it, and I would do it this way. You mentioned there are prosecutions. Technically, I'm a lawyer, but most Americans see them as persecutions. So what you might see, in the glass half full or empty, is these prosecutions and there's these charges and so forth. The American people view it as persecutions and not have them on the ballot. So it depends how you look at that. With respect to immigrants and whatever, President Trump tonight racked up the largest number of Latino voters of any Republican in modern history, in excess of 40%, and 23% of black males. With historically, I've worked for President Bush and others, you're in the single digits. John McCain's campaign, I was on 2 of his campaigns. We would be lucky if we would get 30% of the vote.
We are going to have to wrap this up.
The answer
why
is this.
That? Why does that happen? Just very briefly.
Because, why that happens is because people are voting what they think there's a disconnect with their government. They're seeing inflation, they're seeing problems, and they want, the campaign, I don't know if you saw the motto there was, they broke it, he'll fix it. And that's what they want. So they're not going to be worried about the style and the tweets.
I mean,
and
there's a
even
lot
the people who find that maybe distasteful will ignore that if they feel that the current administration was not delivering, and in fact, we're setting them back.
Adolfo, we do have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we've got a lot to get through tonight. Thank you very much.
I think a lot was made of that Puerto Rican, referring to them as garbage, comment that was made at the Madison Square Garden.
By the comedian, yeah.
That's right. Yeah. However, I mean, when you're getting bashed around by inflation, I think names don't quite hurt as much. We've had a huge showing of Latinos tonight.